Welcome back to TREPI, you guys. I'm here with Shivang Dave of PlenOptika to talk about the QuickSee.
Yeah, so I'm Shivang. I'm one of 4 co-founders. The other guys who are much smarter than me are Professor Durr. He's now a professor at Johns Hopkins. Dr. Eduardo Lage, who's our CTO. Dr. Daryl Lim, he's an optics Ph.D. who actually started the project. And I'm Shivang. I do kind of more of the global health and the business aspects.
I will put all of their names down in the description below. And I'll put their website, plenoptika.com, in the description as well. Before we get started, subscribe for a new startup every week.
PlenOptika is a MedTech startup that spun out of MIT 3 years ago. We developed a product which we call the QuickSee. Definitely, we built it to be a low-cost device used by eye care professionals to help them get to your eyeglass prescription very quickly. And the cool thing about this is because it's so handheld and portable, you can do the test anywhere in the world. You're not confined to the clinic anymore. And we spent the last 4 years doing studies in 5 countries at the bottom of the pyramid, basically to make this very easy to use. The program we were all working together in was called the Madrid MIT Envision Consortium program, and we were all fellows. We were kind of put together and told to kind of find large-scale unmet medical needs in the world. And Daryl and Nick are optical engineers, and so when they were looking through the global burden of disease list put out by the World Health Organization, what caught their eye was uncorrected refractive errors. They found that there was over 1 billion people, and now estimates say there's over 1.5 billion people who don't have the eyeglasses they need. And
you would think it would be because they can't afford the glasses themselves,
right.
But that is not proven to be the case.
Right, and that's exactly was the hypothesis that the guys had. They thought it's the cost of glasses because we're so used to them being expensive in developed countries. And then when we kind of dug into it, we found that there was actually low-cost glasses available throughout the world. And so when you dig a little further, you say, oh, you actually find out the big problem is there's just not enough eye care doctors. There's not enough ophthalmologists, optometrists in developing countries or in underdeveloped settings of developed countries. Then the guys started looking into it and saying, okay, well, it's hard to train new doctors. Let's look at what automated technologies exist out there. And there was a device called an autorefractor. It's stuck in the clinic. It's 50 pounds, costs like $10,000 or $15,000, and it gives a really poor estimate of your eyeglass prescription. And we said, hey, why don't we try to design one that's much more accurate, using the principle that's used to guide LASIK surgery, but could we kind of use it as the same way autorefractors are used? Yeah, and could we make it with low-cost components?
Let's talk about the QuickSee itself.
Yeah.
Describe what we're looking at.
Yeah, so this is a device that we've built. This is probably our 7th or 8th generation device. We've been working on it for about 5 years now. Seems like a long time.
Not much time.
Yeah, it's a cool device because it's kind of like a pair of binoculars. You look through it like you would kind of a viewfinder or a pair of binoculars, and then what this is doing is it basically, your eye is a lens. And if your lens is perfect, then the light's that passes through the lens doesn't have aberrations. And if your lens is imperfect, it's gonna distort that wave, and this detects how that's...
The degree of distortion.
Yeah. And we were gonna test Kim. We would basically have her put the device up to her face, and right now she's looking through the device at something about 10 feet away. And if you look closely on the screen, you can kind of see her eye. We're gonna start the measurement. It takes a 10-second measurement of each eye, and then it outputs the objective measurement of your eye's errors. 3, 2, 1, done. And right now, Kim is wearing her contacts, and if you look at the screen really closely, it says 0, 0, 0, so it's saying it's measuring 0 spherical error, 0 cylindrical error, and 0 axis, and that kind of means her contacts are neutralizing the errors in her eye. This isn't your eyeglass prescription, but it's a very close measure of your eyeglass prescription. And the cool thing about this is, let's say Kim was...
Aside from everything that we just said, that's already cool.
Let's say, Kim was a young kid which was non-communicative, right? We could still do the test on you. Or if you're an elderly person who's illiterate in a village somewhere, we're not requiring you to have complex feedback.
How do you see that impact for the future? Obviously for, quality of life from an education standpoint as well.
Yeah. So it's like, there's different ways to think about it. One way is kind of like on the social impact side is there are these NGOs and the governments that are trying to improve access to basic healthcare, basic things like eye care. but they just don't have enough optometrists. So how does this, the first level, if you're an optometrist and you use this, how much more quickly can you go do an eyeglass prescription? So if in a day you could see 10 patients, can you now see 15? Mm-hmm. So it's improving the efficiency of eye care professionals. The second is kind of, you used to be confined to your clinic, and now you can actually go to a school one day, you can go to an urban slum
and they can have it.
Right. So you can kind of expand the footprint where you would practice. Mm-hmm. And then kind of another level is, well, there's many complex eye diseases, and if there's few eye doctors, you really want them to focus their skill set on the complex diseases. So could you have your technicians kind of use this for the easier parts of the eye exam?
Who do you see yourself selling this to ultimately?
Yeah, so our focus is to kind of work with the eye care professionals and eye care professional organizations. So optometrists, ophthalmologists, optical retail stores, you have the governments, like different ministries of health, NGOs that provide eye care. That's kind of the first market. These are people who need this tool and are the professionals to use it, and then we can grow from there.
They've been working on this, like you said, 5 years?
Yeah.
5 years. It's a long time.
Almost 6 now, and it's been not an easy ride. We do it because, when you're a researcher, like we all were related to biomedical engineering, you choose that path because you want to improve human life. And when you find a disease that's big, that affects like over 1 billion people, and then you realize it's really grossly underserved and it's for silly reasons, then you just, you're passionate about it, right? And there's some diseases that are kind of obscure and it's hard to really conceptualize. When you tell someone, can you, imagine not seeing the world clearly and living like that every day? It's an experience that everyone can relate to. Mm-hmm. It's a huge number. The solution of curing the disease is not some 20-year treatment or very expensive surgery. It's a $5 pair of glasses from a $20 visit or 20-minute visit. Mm-hmm. And so you just kind of like, it just seems very unfair, and it just seems like something that shouldn't exist in the modern era. So that's partially why we're exposed to it. I mean, I have a family member, my grandfather was blind growing up when I was growing up, and so eye care and things like that were always quite close to me. And we're all a bunch of biomedical engineers who really want to have some kind of impact.